Hi guys, I'm Tracey Ward and this is my podcast. Welcome. So today's post is really a carry-on from last week's actually. If you remember last week, it was all about our belief systems and attracting the right things and motivation, all those kind of things. So it's a bit of all that again, but from a slightly different angle. So why don't you act like the person you want to become? Why don't you act like the star you really are? You know why? Because you're afraid of what they think. You know when that started? Well, when you were just a little kid, they used to say, what will the neighbours think? Who cares? I found out what the neighbours think. They don't. Quit concerning yourself with what the neighbours think. And I don't mean your next door neighbours literally, I mean just people in general. Don't give a shit what people think. Act like the person that you want to become. Where do you really want to go? Ralph Waldo Emerson said, there is no planet, sun or star that can hold you. If you but knew what you are. Try and think about that. It's what we feed into our subconscious mind, which is also the emotional mind that dictates the vibration that the body moves into. The body being the instrument of the mind. The vibration dictates what you attract into your life. If you operate with a big idea, you see yourself operating with a very successful business maybe, and you see your things really flying. Do you know what you're going to do? If you keep that picture, you're going to attract people who will make that happen. But if you let your business control you, for example, and you complain about this person and that person and how bad things are, you're going to repel anybody who's got any speed on them at all, and you're going to attract just more problems. So see what you want, hold that image of yourself already there and change your vibration, which is what we were talking about last week. It's the visualization and how important it is on your life. There's this little story about a tribe in Africa and they have a rain dance. A lot of tribes in Africa have rain dances, but this tribe is different. Every time they dance, it rains. Now, anthropologists have gone to study these people because it doesn't rain every time. Most tribes to dance the rain dance, so they went and they studied this one tribe to find out why it rains every time they dance. But do you know what they found out? They found out the tribe dances until it rains. Every time you go out, for example, you make a sale. How? Because you stay out until you've made that sale. It's not rocket science, it's simple stuff. So here we go. Let's get a glass, okay? So let's put water in the glass. Where did the water come from? It came from nothing. From spirit? I don't know. What is the water made of? Water is energy. And what's the glass made of? Energy. The glass used to be sand. What we did was change the vibratory rate of the energy that we called sand, and we turned it into glass. So now we've got a sand full of water. Well, no, we call it a glass now. We have a glass full of water. It's not a sand full of water. It's a glass full of water. It's energy full of water. We call the energy sand. No, we call it glass. Where does the water go? If you add heat to the water, it turns into steam, and the steam turns into air, ether or gas. Here's what we want to grasp. There's no line of demarcation where it stops becoming one and starts to become the other. There's no line of demarcation when it stops becoming water and starts to become steam. It's all hooked up together. It's all a big loop. So if you make this simple enough, you can't miss it. You see everything is just frequencies, just different frequencies. We call it steam because it's on a different frequency. So stay with me, I know I'm waffling. Where does it come from? Well, we bring it back. It comes from ether to the steam to the water, but get this, every line is hooked up to the one above and the one below. I know, I can hear you saying, where are you going with all this? Where do you want me to go? I know where it will go. Let's go to our thinking. Here we are, say spirit. We've got spirit, we've got the intellect, and voila, we've got the physical. Now let's activate our intellectual faculties. Do you know what your intellectual faculties are? One of them is reason. That gives us the ability to think. So let's activate our reasoning factor and let's tap in on a higher level. Where's thought? Thought is an omnipresent. Where's spirit? It's an omnipresent. So we tap into our spiritual essence, pull our thoughts together, and we build an idea. This house I was sitting in now was at one point just an idea. We hold an idea long enough and the idea will move into form. And that's what Andrew Carnegie said. Any idea that is held in the mind, that is emphasised, that is either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. So if you hold the idea, it will move into form. So all we're doing is working with the law. We're working with energy. We're working with the power. We're working with spirit. We have the ability to be, do, or have whatever we want. It doesn't matter what your past is. Did you have some traumatic experience? It doesn't matter. Just let the things go from your past. Tune in at the subconscious level and say, wow, I'm surrounded by power. It's flowing to and through me. Wow. And it is. And this is cool. Thank you, God. I think I'm rich. I got rich. I think I'm happy. How do you become happy? Right, for me personally, how do you become happy? You help others be happy. How do you become loved? You love others. It's pretty simple, really. It's got to be if I learnt it. So how can I attract the perfect idea to myself? Well, the perfect idea is the idea that you're in love with. If you love someone, you're attracted the perfect person, haven't you? Does that make sense? I think it does. But someone else would say, you love that dog. What's the matter with you? So it's a matter of perception then. The perfect idea is the idea that you're emotionally involved in. Do you know what love is? Love is resonance. It's when the conscious, subconscious and body are all in love with one idea. And that is called integrity. Your thoughts, feelings and actions are all lined up. So you just have to ask yourself, what do I really love doing? And this is how I've got on to doing the blog, which was putting myself out there, then publishing books, doing this podcast, for instance. I'd never in a month of Sundays thought I would end up podcasting. I used to hate the sound of my voice and always be bothered about what other people would think about what I would say. I don't give a shit, why should I? If I do what I love, then that makes me a better person. And that's it. You need to follow your dreams. Think your dreams into reality. Think your dreams into being. I've got a playlist on my phone of positive songs, and I try and listen to one every morning. So something like I Can See Clearly Now, or that kind of thing. And it just sets my brain into the right frame of mind to start a day. I know it's going off piece a bit, but just thought I'd drop that one in. It kind of programs your mind, I think. But if you keep listening to that kind of thing, it just, I don't know, it becomes real. The emotional mind is quite different from the conscious mind. The conscious mind has the ability to accept and reject, but it also has the ability to just accept. Okay, so the subconscious is totally deductive. In other words, it has no ability to reject. The conscious mind has the ability to choose. As this power flows into your conscious mind, you can choose. You can choose what to do with it. You can choose anything you want to think. You can think anything you want to think. This is huge when you think about it. There's power flowing through you. There are some things you think you have to do. There are some things you think you can't control. There is only one thing you can control, and that is you. You can't control anything else. You can control your perception of something else. You can control how you respond to it, but you're in control of you. You have the ability to choose. You have the ability to accept or reject any idea. You know what you hear on television and you can reject it all. You don't have to accept any of it. When they talk about the economy being down the tubes, reject it. Someone comes along and they point out, well, these are the facts and you're not going to pay attention to them. You don't have to pay attention. You can reject it. I don't have to pay attention to something that I do not want to pay attention to. When given this ability to choose, I'm going to choose to reject all that shit. When you reject it, you have the ability to organise a thought. So if you could see a beautiful power, it's flowing into your consciousness like a funnel. It's flowing to and through you. So when it flows into you, it has no form. It's got no form. It's pure, unadulterated, creative energy that's flowing into your conscious mind. You have the ability to choose. Whatever you choose and you impress, your subconscious mind must accept. It has absolutely no ability to reject. Your subconscious mind is totally deductive. Now, this is the part that you really want to try and grasp. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. If I put you in a hypnotic state, I could cause you to sweat. I could have you believing that it was 120 degrees in this room, and then a second later I could have you shivering because it's so cold. The temperature in the room didn't change, but your perception of the temperature in the room changed because of the idea that was put into your mind. I could turn my body as rigid as a table. Because I tell it is stiff and rigid. Whatever I tell it to do is my body. Your body is an instrument of the mind. When you build an image in your mind of what you want, you've got to understand that your subconscious mind cannot reject it. It is totally subjective, 100%, and it cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. It must accept it. So I've covered that there, I hope. But it's an important thing that you need to learn. So here's me and you today. There's a power, and it's flowing into your consciousness. You've got the newspaper, the radio, the TV, you name it. They're all flowing into our conscious mind because we have a reasoning factor. Remember we said that reason was one of the intellectual factors, and that's what gives us the ability to think. We can say, I'm not going to accept that, I'm not going to think that, I'm not going to listen to that. We can just say, I'm rejecting it and you could get rid of it. But we don't do that. What do? I'll tell you exactly what we do. We leave our mind wide open when that stuff comes along. We don't even reason with it. We leave our mind wide open and it goes directly into our subconscious mind. And why do we do that? Because we're programmed to do that. That's what our paradigm is. That's the way we live. We see all these people out there and they're just following like little sheep because that's the way to go. And we're all going that way. But no, really, that's not the way to go. We've got no business there. All the business is down here. As an infant, your subconscious mind is wide open. Whatever is going on around you goes right into your subconscious mind. I want you to think of this for a moment. We can take a baby in any part of the world, and before that baby is 4 or 5 years old, before they even go to school, that baby could learn 5 languages, speak 5 languages fluently. And that's not uncommon in some parts of the world. So look at this for a moment. The baby's mind is wide open. They accept whatever you give to it. That's the language the baby learns. The baby's self-image is built at a very early age, before the baby even has the ability to think, before the conscious faculties have even been formed. This child cannot even think, and yet the baby is building a self-image. What the baby thinks of herself. The truth is this: the baby is having the self-image built for her, and more often than not, the person building it is ignorant about human potential. So you find a child who's raised with a lot of praise, and that child's going to grow up very confident. You find a child who's raised with a lot of criticism, he's going to grow up very insecure. And we talked about this briefly in last Monday's podcast. You can pour whatever you want into that baby's mind. Put it in over and over and over. Why do you like the food you like? You were programmed to like it. Why do you speak this language? You were programmed to speak it. Why do you have the prejudices you have? Because you're programmed to have them. Why does the race of people think they're superior to all others? With different colours, different shapes, different sizes and different genders. You know something? There's one common denominator. There's one mind. We're all an expression of exactly the same thing. So now all this conditioning, that conditioning turns into what is self-image. But self-image is only one idea. What were you surrounded by? Look at this for a minute. People become enslaved by trivia, and that's all they know, trivia, nothing. There's not a creative thought that comes out of them in years, and then they wonder why they're not enjoying life. What happened? Life's passed me by. What do you mean life's passed you by? Well, if you're surrounded by people whose lives are filled with daily trivia, odds are pretty good that your life is too. So if you had people around you while you were growing up believing that it was difficult to earn money, odds are pretty good you believe that too. If you were surrounded by people when you were growing up who struggled just to make ends meet, they're good people, they just don't have much, but they're good. So if you grew up around people who thought there's something wrong with having money, rich people aren't happy, I know rich people who laugh, why did we grow up with these ideas? We grew up with all these prejudices and all the screwed up thinking of the people we were surrounded by. So we need to change the thinking. We need to program the mind. It's like the power of decision. There's one single mental move you can make that in a millisecond will solve enormous problems for you. It has the potential to improve almost any personal or business situation you will ever encounter, and it could literally propel you down the path to incredible success. And I'm talking about decision. So when you look at a problem, you've got to see all the possible solutions, but until you zero in on one and take action on it, nothing happens. So energy, positivity, great ideas, all these things. And we've sort of talked briefly about energy at the beginning. You don't get energy. People say, where does she get all that energy from? Nobody gets energy. Everybody releases energy. It flows to and through us. There's no shortage of energy. You'll see a person come home from work and say, I just haven't got any energy. And you know what their problem is? It's they're bored. They're bored. Boredom is the absence of a creative idea. They may have never given birth to a creative idea. They just sort of go through life in that kind of fashion, doing what everybody else does. And it starts when you're little kids, going out and being like other little kids, which is the only thing they can't be like. And so they spend their whole life trying to be like the other little kids. I've always got ideas, and I'm trying to go after goals now. I've no idea how I'll reach them, but I know I'm going to. And the fact that I don't know how to do it doesn't scare me now. I find it quite challenging, but in a good way. I've always found that big ideas grow even bigger when they're discussed and kind of mulled over in a relaxed setting. You know, you come out of things just by doodling and just sitting looking out the window. It happens right here on my sofa. It sounds a bit dodgy, doesn't it? But Alfred Adler once said, I am grateful for the idea that has used me. When you fall in love with an idea, you will be grateful for that idea because it will move you into action. So what ideas wind you up and make you want to move into action? If you're not sure, get quiet and visualise. Visualisation is where everything starts, and we talked about this last week. When you think about it, everything begins with a picture, and the law of transmutation tells us that energy is always moving into form. You and I have been given creative faculties unlike any other form of life, so we have the ability to create the vision or the image in our mind. Everything you see right now all started as an image in somebody's mind. We always see the genius in somebody else, but never in ourselves. You are creative, powerful, innovative, and you have genius locked up within you, just waiting to be unleashed. So don't go another day down the path of a life that isn't completely satisfying. You say you have ideas flooding your mind every day. Wonderful. So now what? Ideas are useless if you don't take action to make them happen. But if you do, one good idea could change your entire life. It can change the world. So how would you like to have had the idea for the computer that you work on, or Facebook, or Twitter? Stop and think of what the people who created the iPhone earned. Wouldn't you just love to be on the receiving end of that? Unfortunately, almost all ideas are stillborn. People think about them, but they die inside the person's mind. Beautiful ideas that could change the life of the person who is entertaining them, but they never ever see the light of day. And why is that? and it's like I said earlier, it's a start that stops most people. But the thing that is sitting on your shoulders, your head, will create ideas, and everything around you is nothing but the expression of an idea. You started out with a very beautiful imagination, but you get to school and wham, they knock it out of you and they call it not paying attention. Well, let that go. Don't live there anymore. Andrew Carnegie, who was the wealthiest man in the world in the 1900s, said he knew nothing about the manufacturing of the marketing of steel, and yet he became the wealthiest man in the world in the steel business. Now, how did he do that? He did it with a team. No one in the history of the world who has ever done anything of any consequence has ever done it on their own. So stop letting your ideas die inside of you. Get the help where you need it, so they can be born. Dedicate your life to a worthy idea. An idea is so big and exhilarating that you're grateful for the idea that has used you. I hope you found that of interest. I hope I wasn't waffling too much or reading too fast. I do try and slow it down a bit, make it easier. And we were quite lucky this week. Harvey didn't chase his tail or sneeze or anything, so that's wonderful. So I think next week I will probably talk a bit more about positivity and law of attraction and things like that. But also in the meantime, as I've always say, please contact me if you want me to talk about something else or you're interested in something else, and I will gladly talk about that. If you've got any questions ever, you can just message me either via email, which is tracywardme@gmail.com, and it's Tracey with an E, or on the website, which is www.tracyward.me, and again, Tracey with an E. So have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next week.